forum has gone, telling them some tips, things that courses they took the wrong turn on and corrected, and so that we don't have to experience some of those same mistakes. And I'm going to introduce them to you, and then they're going to come up on their own schedule here. But Miss Dina Raber is here from San Diego County. She is an expert in the field of wildfire recovery and rebuild activities. She's a veteran of both of those fires that I mentioned. She's currently employed by San Diego County and is collaborating with the Red Cross on a book for victims of such disasters. She's got with her a colleague, Robin Clay, who lives in the lakeside community of San Diego County. She too has been involved in these activities since 2003. After the 2007 Southern California fire, she was drafted by FEMA to help establish a long-term recovery team. And these terms are going to be familiar to you in the next months and hopefully not years, but these activities will be here on a sustained basis. They also bring along with them a woman by the name of Bonnie Fry. She is from the community of Ramona, California. She too has been involved in these unfortunate activities, but they're here today to help us avoid mistakes and succeed in these efforts. So I'm going to turn it over to these ladies, and they're in charge. And they are used to being in charge.
Thank you. I'm Robin Clegg, and I'm with the Community Recovery Team in San Diego. And can I, just so I know what my audience is, how many of y'all are fire survivors? Lost your homes? Lost everything? Okay, thank you. And I am truly sorry for your loss. I wanted to just share with you a little bit about how I got involved, because I have seen people out in your community that remind me of myself, which is scary a little bit. I watched about 15 of my neighbors' homes burn to the ground because my husband refused to leave. He was one of those fools. And had me on a fire hose, and he was making a break with the backhoe, etc. And it was very, very difficult to have my house be okay and see others' homes burn up while we really kind of felt like we were sitting idle because it had already passed by us. But he couldn't get around to their home to save them because he was afraid to leave our home. And I had been on my planning group in my community for about 18 years at that time, and I was called in by our fire department, our county government, and asking me to come to a meeting, and that it was just going to be 72 hours, and then there was going to be organizations and people that came in and took care of us. And we actually learned that that's actually not exactly how it works. That it's actually community that rebuilds community. And that we all have to come together and partner together to help rebuild. And there are amazing organizations out there, and there are amazing people out there that are out there to help make that happen. Now, with our recovery team in 2003, and I'll actually tell you about 2007, what we did as a recovery team. So remember, I'm just the little lady, well, I'm just the tall lady that never worked outside of the home. I was always an at-home mom, except I did my volunteer work in the community. And myself, Bonnie, Dina, and many of our other partners from different areas, we all came together and formed our recovery team through whispering in the ear from FEMA. But so in 2007, and sadly I can't even remember our statistics of how many homes were lost, but maybe Dina will hit on that. But we ended up with our recovery team through donated dollars and some of the rebuild organizations that are out there, like Mennonite Disaster Services, Christian Reform World Relief Committee, Christian Aid Ministries. We just happened in 2007 to use Mennonite Disaster Service. We built 17 homes from the ground up for uninsured folks that had no resources to get back into a safe and sanitary home. And so these things are out there, they can happen, and you don't want to lose hope. And I recommend, and some folks are going to be afraid to sign up with FEMA. Some people, we had a lot of backcountry, people well dependent on septic systems. They're in the backcountry for a reason, kind of anti-government. Don't be afraid of that process. Don't be afraid to get a case manager. I know that you have St. Vincent, and there's a whole bunch of other words that go with it. St. Vincent, DePaul, with some other stuff on there. Because there's a lot of different groups of different organizations that are doing case management. I can't tell you enough to get a case manager. Get a case manager, and if the case manager doesn't think that they can do anything for you, they may have other resources. Reach out and don't be afraid because you don't want to take away from somebody else. It doesn't hurt to gather those resources. Those of you that are insured, one of the things that we did in San Diego was we came together and had like 10 most important things that a fire survivor or disaster survivor should know. One of those things is do not sign on the dotted line with your insurance company. There are insurance advocacy groups out there. We had people in San Diego that got over policy limits. So there are ways to work through that system, and you're going to hear a speaker today at 5 o'clock, United Policyholders. We have worked with them in San Diego, and we've also worked with another organization, CARE, and he's not here. These folks have great experience. Their service is free. Access those resources. Do not be afraid. And don't be shy. Don't be too proud because it is a long process, and I want you to know that it is a long process. I just wrote the last household furnishings check the day that I left to come here for a 75-year-old man that we rebuilt his home. And this is all built with volunteer labor. I mean, this is actually real. People actually do this. It's absolutely astounding and amazing. I was shocked that there's actually people that do that because I just did my little bit of volunteer work. And so you have all these organizations and you have your county governments and that are out and helping in your fire department. It's amazing, and your chambers of commerce, and I'm not even sure, because we actually didn't do this on our own completely. I mean, we're here as volunteers, but someone certainly paid for our plane ticket, and it was someone from your community. So Tom, I'm not really sure who that was, but whoever that was, thank you. Because one of the things that we have learned is we would never want someone to have as large a learning curve as we did, because it was huge. And so you should, and your community now is probably transitioning from relief where you're not needing water and food and clothing so much, and now you need to information gather, and you need to see, how am I going to get back in my home? How is that going to happen? And for some of you that is going to happen through insurance advocacy. Some of you it's going to happen through case management, through your long-term recovery organization that is working and getting your movers and shakers in your community, because there's always those folks. I've met some great people, because what we did is we kind of went around, because this happened to us in 2003. There were people that came and started watching us and talking to us, and, oh, well, we need you to stick around, and we're going to find some money to pay you because we're figuring your family's not going to let you do this for 3 years for free. Different interesting things like that. And so I just wanted to give a shout out, actually, to a few people that I've met that remind me of our team. Now, this is not to take anything away from our government people and our county people and fire people and chamber, but I'm talking about folks that maybe don't work outside of the home like me, and that just spontaneously stepped up to see how they could help their people. Because that's how I felt like I was, these people were my people. These were my neighbors, these were my community. And Tiffany and Billy Roberts, they're doing the Adopt a Family program. Hopefully y'all signed up for that, because great program. We had similar programs in San Diego. Then there was these two gals I met yesterday, Ruth Rogers and Lori Eskew, I think, and Bastrop County Fire Relief. And I just loved that when I walked up and they had their banner. It said Bastrop County Fire Relief. Well, I had East County Fire Relief, and that's what I had. And I ran a relief center that transitioned into a recovery center, and now myself with my other cohorts, we run the long-term recovery in San Diego with all. And when I say run it, we just facilitate it. We make sure that all the agencies are doing what they're supposed to do and that they're getting the help out to the people. And there's nothing like a community member that's the taxpayer, that is the donator to the Red Cross, to the Salvation Army, to say, hey, I don't like what you're doing, or I love what you're doing, and you need to get the word out more. So community, community, community. I am amazed by your community. It's a beautiful community. And I have a friend moving to Texas. I'm going to suggest that maybe she kind of check this place out because it's pretty nice. And with that, I could gab for hours. But you can do this. You will do this. You have no choice. And so look to your fellow community members and fellow survivors to support you in that. And thank you very much for having us, and we'll be sitting at a table if anyone has any questions. And thank you for inviting us. Appreciate it.
Well, thank you very much. I come from the County of San Diego. I actually started working fire recovery from the communities. I lived in Crest, and I was the only house left standing on my street. So I started working with fire survivors, volunteering my time, just like many of you are doing, to try and get the word out and assist on avoiding some issues that fire survivors were stumbling across because they didn't know what they were doing. What happens for a fire survivor is you didn't make a conscious choice to rebuild your home. So you're going to find yourself wearing hats that you're not comfortable with and haven't worn before. The rebuilding process can be complicated, although I learned that you guys have less requirements than the County of San Diego does. The County of San Diego requires inspections, plan check reviews, and it's a very regulatory driven agency. So you got a little bit of a head start there. You are going to get a lot of benefits from your county because, as I understand it, they're waiving permit fees and they're allowing you to live on your property while you're going through the building process. That could help, because what's going to happen is you don't want to take your kids out of your schools. You want to keep them in the local area, give them that sense of friendship and community they've grown up with. So by doing that, you can be a part of your rebuilding process and not be commuting back and forth from school, running your kids into their various sports activities, and trying to find time to take care of your rebuild. One of the things that I greatly believe in is knowledge is power. So one of the things I continue preach on when I talk to fire survivors is you need to learn everything you can learn to protect yourselves as survivors and be good consumers out there. So one of the things I suggest you do is take the time up front to look for what I call red flags. Address those issues on your property ahead of time before you get in the process of building or designing plans, because then you can avoid costly mistakes. What you don't want to do is take steps backwards. You want to continue to move forward. So what I suggest, the very first thing you want to do is you want to make sure you have a good licensed contractor. Actually, you guys don't have to have licensed contractors, I forgot about that. But you want to take the time to make sure you have a contractor that's reputable. You want to check their references. You want to look at those contractors' previous jobs, local jobs, and see what kind of work they were able to do for other people who are just like you. So the questions you want to ask are, did you do a house? Did you do a strip mall? Did this particular contractor have any stumbling blocks that he came across while he was in the process of building your home? That's okay if you had stumbling blocks. You want to know how he addressed getting past those stumbling blocks. It's the issues that are going to come up naturally in the rebuilding process and how you get past those issues that makes a good contractor. I really strongly recommend that you go and talk to your other neighbors and find out who worked well with them. This is a personal relationship on your end. On their end, it's a business relationship. So you need to respect the fact that they're coming from a business aspect, but you are coming from a personal aspect. So one thing, you gotta like the person you're working with. You need to be able to speak your mind to that person and be able to feel like they're listening to you and they're going to take care of your needs. So very first thing, make sure you have good people working with you. Additionally, I constantly tell fire survivors, this is a marathon, it's not a sprint. So you need to give yourself, the most important thing you need to do is take care of yourself first and then your family. You need to be strong for your family, and you need to be there to help them through the process. So what I recommend you do is, when you feel like you're overwhelmed, take a break, because you need a break. When you feel like you need to get away from this because you're not thinking clearly, you're being too emotional over it, get away from it. Meaning, go do something totally opposite. Go to your kid's soccer game. Cheer like you always did at your kid's soccer game. Go out to dinner. Go see a movie. Do something that's going to take your mind away from what you've been focusing on continuously. Your everyday lives are going to continue to move forward, and you're going to deal with everything that you already deal with. On top of that, you're dealing with the rebuilding process. So, this is not a race between you and your neighbor. Everybody's recovery is different. Everybody's going to go through it in their own pace. Remember that they may have a different insurance company than you do. They may have an adjuster who's working with them more quickly to settle their insurance. You may be uninsured, and you need some additional time to figure out what your recovery is. The other thing I say is look to those around you. You've got so many wonderful people in this community. I've met so many of them who are there to help you. Coming from a community and being that person, I had no choice. I couldn't imagine not helping people through the recovery process. So you're helping them recover from the fire too. Even though they didn't lose their home, they're still going through it. And there's a little bit of guilt being the one house on my street that was still standing while my neighbors' houses were all gone. I couldn't get through this recovery without giving my time to help you through the recovery. I was lucky enough to be able to do it in a way that was going to be a special assistance that only I could provide. So it was I really benefited from working in recovery. Let's see. So our county is a lot bigger than yours. We did have about 2,000 homes that were lost in 2003 and about 1,700 homes lost in 2007. I know that doesn't sound, it sounds like a lot, but when you look at it, we're the third largest county in the county of San Diego, or the state of California, with 4,526 square miles, so we're pretty big. We are also densely populated. We have about 670 people per square mile, so it's a pretty populated area. Let's see. One of the things that County of San Diego Building Department did that was really pioneering for California and jurisdictions across the country is we're forerunners in fire-resistant building. I can't stress enough how important it is to build a better home, a safer home. So I've heard people talking about defensible space out here. So you are thinking about clearing around your properties and creating those buffer zones to keep the fire from coming near your homes. There's other things that you might want to be thinking about that we found works in San Diego. You want to keep the fire out of your home. You want to put grates over your vents that will avoid the large embers from coming into your attic space. You want to look at materials that are not going to readily catch fire. You also want to think about things like access to your property. Can that fire truck get in there and take care of the fire? You don't want the fire truck in there but right next to your house because you don't want them to be fighting the fire from their fire truck as well. But you want to be able to get them readily to your property. And let's see what else. You also want to, one of the things that, by doing these fire codes in the County of San Diego, we actually had Ramona, the community of Ramona, actually had fires come through that community in the same location twice, in 2003 and 2007, and we actually had fire survivors who lost their house both times. The majority of the homes that were built after the 2004 fire codes did not burn down. There was only one that I know of that was built to the new codes that did burn down, and that was because the garage door was open and the fire came through the garage into the house. Doing these simple things, and it doesn't cost that much more to build a smarter home, you can avoid this from happening again. So now's the opportunity to do things in a better way. I just wanted to get that out there to you so you can think about those things. Finally, I just wanted to say that You're going to go through and learn a lot through this process. It's going to feel like you're going through this process and you're going to reach those stumbling blocks and you're going to think you just can't make it. But you can. I went through this with thousands of fire survivors and they do make it. And I've gone through it with little old ladies who knew nothing about building, all by themselves, and they got through it. And when you're done, you're going to feel good. You're going to feel like you accomplished something. You're going to feel proud. You're going to look at your kids and go, look, I got you through this. And they're going to be proud of you. So you can do it. Count on those friends and neighbors that are around you. And we are happy to help you in any way. We've given out business cards to let everybody know who is assisting you through the recovery that they please call us. And we'll be out front and walking around and we'll be happy to share our information with you. Okay, thanks. We wanted to give you a few moments to ask us questions. It's hard for us to anticipate where you're coming from because we don't live in this community. So feel free to ask us any questions you have about the recovery process and we'll try and answer them for you.
What's your name?
My name is Dina. My name is Dina Raber.
Looks like we did a good job.
All right.
Way out front. All right.
Thank you.
Thank these ladies, please, one more time for coming.